Get your coffee, get your drinks, because I'm about to spill all the tea about this job. This is my unofficially official 1-year update as a registered nurse in the emergency room. Is this recording? I guess this is good. Well, y'all, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. The ER has not killed me yet. If I had to choose one word to summarize my experience in the ER, some people call the emergency department ED for short. That just reminds me of like erectile dysfunction. So I don't like to say that. I like to say ER for emergency room. Oh, by the way, check it out. Look at my shirt. Eee! Represent. Gotta represent.
Represent. Gotta represent.
Anyway, if I had to choose one word to summarize my experience thus far in the ER, I would choose, probably chaotic. I'm not gonna lie to you, it hasn't been the easiest place to work. It hasn't been the easiest experience overall. Dude, it's been so long since I made a YouTube video because life has been lifing. It feels so weird right now to be like in front of the camera or talking to the camera. But my experience in the ER, even though it's been amazing, it's been absolutely crazy and chaotic and insane, but I've loved legit every single second of it. I've learned and grown so much as a nurse. The ER has taken many things from me, but it hasn't taken my will to live just yet. I've heard that, prior to starting there, I've heard that the ER is like the craziest place you can work as a new grad or a relatively new grad nurse. And if you're unfamiliar to my channel, I'm not necessarily a new graduate. I didn't start in the ER as a new grad. I came from surgery, but I didn't have prior floor nursing experience. So I was kind of coming, I don't want to say a blank slate, but definitely unfamiliar territory. I did work in EMS for a little while before even becoming a nurse. So I was kind of familiar with like the ER and emergency services and how that stuff worked in that regard, but totally out of my element. Let me just put that out there. If it wasn't for my amazing coworkers and my awesome preceptor, I would be lost in the sauce as a new little baby nurse. And honestly, even at the 1-year mark, I still feel like a little baby ER nurse, but I've learned and grown so much. And yeah, I just want to share that experience with you. If you haven't already, you should definitely check out my previous video that I made at the 6-month mark of working in the ER. And I talk a little bit more about like some of the struggles and challenges that I faced during that time. Even at the 1-year mark, you're still going to be presented with challenges every day, if not literally every hour on the job, but it is doable. I think a lot of people that watch this channel were kind of curious, like, hey, what is it like starting in the ER without prior floor experience or being a new grad or something along those lines? What I want to say to those people curious about the ER is do not do anything coming from a place of fear. Like, don't think that because it's the emergency room and it sounds really scary from the outside looking in, don't think you can't do it or that that's not a place that you should start being newer. Honestly, if anything, I think it's the best place to start as a new grad because you will become such a well-rounded nurse. And I talk about this in my previous video at the 6-month mark. I was like, wow, I was not expecting to deal with some of the things that I was dealing with in the ER. I mean, every ER is different, but for mine, we had a ton of psychiatric patients. We had a pretty heavy psych load. So you're dealing with like SI and HI patients. You're gonna be dealing with like acute respiratory distress, cardiac arrest, everything under the sun, really, like minor injuries, small bleeds, major brain bleeds, like literally everything. And you're gonna learn how to manage and treat all of these conditions. And I think as a nurse, a newer nurse, it can be overwhelming at first, but you're never alone in the ER. You have a ton of help. And don't be afraid to ask questions. I kind of want to make a separate video talking about like my tips and tricks for new grad ER nurses. And I guess if I could give you like one piece of advice or give those people that were curious one piece of advice, just be a sponge. Like, it sounds funny, but it's like, just allow yourself to absorb all the information that you can. Know that you're never going to be perfect. You will be in the ER, what I like to say, a master of none, but a jack of all trades. So you'll get really familiar with a lot of kind of common disease processes, but there's never going to be like one thing that you're amazing at. And that's a beautiful place to start because like I said, you're going to absorb all types of knowledge and you're going to become very scilled at what you do. Another cool thing about the ER is that a lot of people actually don't start there to begin with. A lot of people kind of come from different units like ICU, psych, some are floor nurses. And I think that's awesome because then when you need resources, you have like this wide range of people that have all different types of knowledge bases. So for example, you might have a real critical patient and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do with this. Well, maybe you have somebody who worked in the ICU who will be a great resource for you. Or if you have psychiatric patients, you might have someone who previously worked on a psych unit and they have tons of knowledge and maybe really good therapeutic skills that can help you communicate better with that patient population. So the ER is such a colorful, decorated place. Don't think that because of your experience or lack of experience, you won't be beneficial there, because that is such a lie. That's not true. You will be such a great addition to that unit. I know it. I know it. I was like on a roll right there, and then my boo just called me. Hey boo, if you're watching this, he just woke up, I think. Another thing I want to talk about is the stress of the ER. All right, listen, people will tell you, they'll tell you, oh my gosh, it gets easier, just stick it out. You're gonna have really good days and some really, really bad days where you feel just totally incompetent. That is normal. And they'll tell you that it gets better. And listen, there is truth to that. They're not lying to you. It does get better. I used to have like really, really bad pre and post shift anxiety. There were times I would have nightmares about work. I would feel like I wanted to throw up going into work because you just don't know what's gonna happen on your shift. Somebody could die. As a matter of fact, people do die almost every single day. Every shift I've had, there has been people that pass away, and that's the nature of the ER. It's not always, it's a critical unit, and it's highly stressful, it's fast-paced, but even with that being said, I would choose it 1,000 times over just because of the amazing experiences that I did have and how much I've grown and been challenged in a positive way there. But you will get better with time. You will start to feel the anxieties lessen as you go into work. You'll start to get familiar with, like I said, certain conditions, and even the ones that you're not super familiar with, you're gonna start to develop like that clinical judgment where you're like, okay, this is less acute, or yeah, I'm gonna need help with this. This is probably gonna start to fall apart in front of my eyes here very shortly. So you become really good at like anticipating certain things. I mean, it's tough. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's very hard. If you have a stressful life outside of work, then I think that it can be difficult to cope with the stress of your job, because not only will you be stressed at home, but now you're stressed going to work. And so you really gotta find time to take care of yourself, or to create space for you to be able to manage the difficulties of both life and your job. I'm starting to learn that no matter what unit you do, it's all hard. And you could have the best coping skills in the world, but truly nothing prepares you for what you face on the job, especially as an ER nurse. Like, I cannot stress enough that you're gonna be dealing with things you just probably never thought you were dealing with. When I started in the ER, I thought I was gonna be like running around doing CPR, like some Grey's Anatomy type shit. And just to be completely honest with you, I wasn't doing any of that for the first like 4 months. I would be counting belongings that people brought in for psych patients who we needed to like strip down and kind of confine and contain for their own safety. I would be like counting that on the daily basis. I'd be calling people's families, letting them know they're in the ER, like a lot of softer things. Still super important, but just not entirely what I thought. Also, one thing to know about being an ER nurse, I think maybe this is nursing in general, but particularly in the ER, you are going to be the hub of literally everyone and everything. I don't really know what I'm saying. Everyone's problems. You're gonna be a therapist, you're gonna be a counselor, you're gonna be a nurse, you're gonna be lab at one point. You're gonna probably have to pretend to be the doctor, because the doctor might not get around to see your patient for quite some time, so you better know everything that's going on with this person. You're gonna have to be transport. I mean, you're gonna be literally every role you can imagine in the hospital. You'll probably take it on at some point as an ER nurse, because again, you are first on scene. You're a first responder. You're the first person that these patients are seeing. And a lot of times too, like I said, different doctors, they all work differently. So that's kind of a challenge, is learning how each of them work. And again, with the stress levels, they want you to perform quickly and be fast and competent. As you learn the doctors too, you kind of start to learn like what they want, what they look for. A lot of times they won't get to their patients for quite some time, so you have a ton of autonomy. It's really on you to anticipate like what labs are going to be drawn, what scans they're going to need, and kind of get them ready for that. But again, all of that stuff just comes with time and experience in the ER, so it's nothing that you can't and won't learn as you go. I know some people were wondering too, like now that it's been some time in the ER, how I felt about it in comparison to where I used to work, which was the operating room. And honestly, I would choose the ER. Where's my dad going? Look at him. He's leaving in the trailer. Would I choose the ER over the operating room? Absolutely, every single time, over and over again. That is an astounding yes. I love the ER. It feels like home to me, even though it is crazy and chaotic. It's beautiful at the same time, because like I said, you are the first person that these patients see. You really get the chance to make a lasting impact on them. What is he doing right now? I should put this on camera. He's about to crash into my car. Sir, you better not. You better not. Yeah, I've just had way more positive experiences than negative, and I feel very blessed and grateful to say that, because I know with nursing too, there's a lot of like nurse bullying that people experience, and I talked about that in my, dude, he's gonna crash into my car. Like, what is he doing? Interrupting my dang YouTube video. But there's a lot of nurse bullying that goes on, and I experienced that in the operating room too. But honestly, the ER, not even close. Like, I have nothing like that. The unity and the teamwork and the camaraderie there is unlike anything I've ever experienced, truly. And I think that's because you and your coworkers kind of really rely heavily on each other to get certain tasks done, to care for people. And a lot of times, you know, everywhere in nursing right now is short-staffed, so you really depend on one another and learn to just grow and trust each other. To my ER nurse family, if you ever watch this video, that'd be embarrassing. I hope that you never do. Actually, shout out Crystal. Crystal, if you're watching this, I miss you, boo. I know she watches my YouTube videos. But to my ER nurse family, I love you guys so much. I am so eternally grateful for all of your help and your knowledge and your friendship. I have made lasting friendships with some of these people, and I hope to be friends with them for the rest of my life. So for that, I'm so grateful and thankful. This video is already going to be way longer than I hoped it would be, and I kind of knew that it was going to go that route. I think the last thing I want to say is that one thing that I've learned from my time in the emergency room is that nursing, again, no matter what unit you're on, it is really challenging. And we're in kind of an interesting time right now when it comes to nursing. I think it can be really dangerous. It's not safe for nurses alone, let alone new graduates. There's a lot of unspoken things that most units just assume that you know or need to know. And I'll give you a quick example. When I see that certain doctors put orders in, one time a doctor put an order in, and he put an order for a med that I actually didn't need to give right then and there. I didn't know what this med was anyway. I was unfamiliar with it, but he had put it in there just in case this patient crashed and I needed to use it. It was there. I almost gave this med without, I guess, technically a clinical indication to do so, but I had asked like a million people beforehand. I'm like, what is this? Am I supposed to do this right now? I don't know what to do. This patient was going to end up going to ICU. Again, fortunately for my coworkers and stuff and just asking around, they were like, no, he just put that in there like as a, basically in case you need it, it's there. There's just like little things like that I'm like, wow, nursing is like, this is scary, you know? So being a new nurse, practicing as a new nurse, it's hard, but it's not impossible. Like, you'll learn as you go, but I just think nursing in general is really like unsafe. Obviously, right? Like, you're dealing with people's lives and all that stuff, you know, titrating critical meds, things like that. But there's a lot of things that just make an otherwise simple task really complicated when it comes to nursing. Just to give you a brief example of that as well, you know, in the ER, they expect you to be fast and efficient and on top of things. Well, maybe they'll ask you to go put an IV in like room 28. So you go to start that line, but turns out it's a 9-year-old kid, and you can't just walk into a room with a 9-year-old kid and say, hey, I'm gonna stick you with a needle. It doesn't go like that in the ER. So that is where the art of nursing really comes into play, and you have to practice like your compassion and your people skills and learn how to talk to families and parents and even children. We had a lot of peds in our ER. So, you know, I think like all of those kind of specific scenarios are just things that would be really hard for me to articulate to someone who is not a nurse or is unfamiliar with nursing, but I know that the nurses watching this will know exactly what I'm talking about. I think that sometimes the expectations of doctors, patients sometimes, their families, all of the expectations that are put on the nurse are at times seemingly impossible and humanly impossible too. I know that for my ER, the nurse to patient ratio was 4-1, but at times, depending on where you were at, especially if you were in the psych corner, you know, you could have like 7 patients at one time, and like, that is not safe. That's not safe for anyone, not for me, not for them, for nobody. And I fear that this is becoming the norm for hospitals, and that's not right, you know? And I'm not sure that one person or management or hospital administration or organization can even change that. And that's something that I touched on in a previous video. But yeah, nursing is just, it's interesting. It's at a very interesting point. And, you know, I hope that it starts to turn around for the better. But I will say that I don't see myself always working in the ER for that reason, because I want to protect my license. And there's probably more days than not that I feel that my license is at stake. And again, I know nurses can relate to this. It's not safe. So I see myself in the future probably working in an environment that is not hospital-based. That is purely so I can practice with more autonomy and under different circumstances, hopefully safer, less stressful circumstances. But even as much as I love the ER, again, I think this is just like a hospital issue. If it doesn't get addressed or taken seriously very soon, you're going to see lots and lots of nurses walking away from the bedside. Again, I don't want this video to be too long. I touched on some of these topics in previous videos, but just to give you like a very quick recap of my 1-year update, which is so crazy to even say. I do love the emergency room. I'm very grateful for my experiences. I'm so fortunate that I've had more positive than negative experiences. I know that that is not true for everyone, especially in the ER. It's not exactly common. I think maybe in fact it's a rarity, but it's not something I take for granted. Do I see myself in the ER forever? Probably not. I don't know. We'll see. I'm open to the future. I'm open to seeing what the future holds. And I will for sure keep you guys updated as I go. If you have questions, please leave them down below. I know I'm not going to be able to touch on like everything that I want to in this video, but I swear I read through like every single comment and I answer everything. So if you're curious about the ER or if you have questions, please leave them down below. I'm here for you. And I'll try to keep you guys updated like as I move through this journey with nursing. I think it's really important to take people watching this channel along with me for the ride because nursing is hard. It's crazy. It's a crazy field. I love it to death, but it's insane. It's rewarding, it's chaotic, it's challenging all at the same time. How cool is it that we have social media to be able to connect and interact and share experiences? Like, I just find that so awesome. That's why I love when you guys comment, because I'm like, woo, let's talk about it. Like, let's talk about our crazy freaking code experiences and our patient that crashed and the cool thing that we did or didn't get to do. I don't know, I just love all of it. So make sure that you like and subscribe for more nursing related content, and just be on the lookout for similar videos like this in the future. I have like a couple new ones coming out, so just stay tuned for that, okay? Can't make this too long or we'll be here all day. Love you, goodbye.